in? Okay. We will move forward and welcome our fellow Zoom members as they join us. Welcome to the May 7th Webster Board of Education virtual Zoom meeting. Can we have a motion, please, to move out of executive session?
So moved.
Maria, second?
Second.
Thank you. And with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I don't believe there's any alteration of the agenda. So with that, we'll move right into board business. And the first item of business is superintendent recommending the bid site work for buildings and grounds. Brian, can you lead us through that conversation?
Sure. We opened bids last Monday, April 27th, for the construction around renovating buildings and grounds, the main facility. This was originally part of the $43.5 million project. But if you remember when we bid that over 18 months ago now, we had some concerns around price overruns. It was around the steel tariff conversation. And so we put this as an alternate to accept when we did the bid package for Spry in the Thomas Library. That's just a way of prioritizing what we want to get done. And obviously the cafetorium and the libraries were the most important part. So we wanted to make sure we protected those with inside of our $43.5 million project. So when we opened those bids 18 months ago, this part of the project came in over $1 million. So it was one that was shelved at the time because we needed to take every available ounce of contingency funds in the capital project and really pay for the cost overruns, the higher than expected bids on Spry. Most notably the new cafetorium and the costs of steel involving that. So as we've gone through, the work, we hold on to some of these contingency funds because you never know what you're going to expect, especially at Spry. Concerns when we're getting into the original part of the building, tying things together. You never know what's hiding behind the next wall. So, as we're finishing up that work and we're almost done, we can, in essence, release those contingency funds. So we want to go back and look at some of those alternates, this being one of them. So we rebid it. And as you can see, I've attached the bid document of who showed up. It was actually great timing because all the private construction was stopped. So we got a tremendous amount of firms that generally don't bid on school construction because they're not really doing anything else right now. So a few different names showed up than the normal school construction group, but it came in almost at about half the price of what we did 18 months ago for the trades. So as you can see, who were the low bidders that I summarized for you on all the contracts on the HVAC, the electrical, plumbing, and general construction for a little over $600,000, and which is, just a shade under 50% less than when we bid this 18 months ago.
Okay. Some good news. That's incredible. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Hey, Brian, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
I remember your tutorial on Finance 101, and there's different buckets and you can't move it. But if we deferred these projects, could you use these for teacher salary, this money for teacher salary, right? It's
no, it's got to be spent
projects,
specifically right? On what the voters passed. So it's however you write the proposition that voters passed. So for instance, say for some reason we left off Willink Middle School in the resolution by some mistake, that we only put 10 of the 11 buildings in. We would be, even though we budgeted for it, we would be prevented from doing work at Willink because the voters in us didn't give us approval for it. So it's very, very limited to specifically what you put in the resolution and the proposition for voters to approve on. And if there's any funds left over, which, you know, with a $43.5 million project or a $69.5 million project, when you get down to the end and maybe you have a $500,000 left over, it's not really worth bidding out because, you know, nobody's really gonna, what do you, by the time you redesign a project and get the 4 trades to bid on it, $500,000 isn't going to go very far. So the comptroller has very strict rules on what you can do with that money. And that's in essence where then it gets shifted to what we call a debt service reserve, which is even more restricted than capital funds. So that's kind of the domino effect. So you can't interplay these. These are all separately budgeted, separately tracked, separately accounted for. They do not mix with the general fund at all.
Okay, I suspected that. Thank you.
No, and that's an excellent point probably to reiterate in terms of the capital project and what the public might see as money being spent. This money is completely separate from the operating budget and was voter approved, and we received aid on it. So probably worth us mentioning that a few times again and again throughout this budget cycle, because it's unusual enough to begin with. Just to make sure that people are clear about that. They are in no way related and one cannot serve or replace the other.
Right. And in essence, you know, 70% to 75% of the projects are covered by the state. So if we're not doing a project, the district next door is going to grab that money with a project. So it's there sitting for us to utilize. Versus not doing anything for it. It's a state incentive to do projects.
And great for us for getting such a good price, and great for these companies for getting a big project to work on. I'm happy for all of us.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Okay. In that case, can we have a motion, please, to accept this bid?
So moved.
By Jan,
Second.
second. I'm sorry, I didn't hear anyone. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion carries. Moving on to the second item of business, Water's Edge tax certiorari resolution. And Brian, again, if you can speak to this matter.
Sure. Yep. This is the Water's Edge apartment complex at the bottom of the bay. Right in Penfield, also known as South Point Cove, that is over there. Their official address is 1100 Anchorline Drive, but it's really 3 properties combined into one, so I've lumped them all together here. So they were looking to reduce the values on these properties through the tax certiorari proceedings to about 12 million for all 3. So the potential refund exposure for the fiscal years that they were going for was $1.1 million. So this settlement is what I would call a win for us, because we have no refunds and a small reduction in the assessment for the property, and it eliminates one of our largest potential tax certiorari exposures and no more litigation costs. So this was a good one for us to accept this resolution at the time, and worked very hand in hand with Catherine Gavitt, our attorney, on this, and both agree that this was something we should take to the board for approval and passage.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody have any questions or feedback about this?
It just seemed, Brian, what drove the change from 12 million to 20, almost 27 million? That's a huge difference. From
every tax certiorari, Mike, they, you know, if the property is assessed at 10 million, they'll say it's worth $20,000. It's a legal filing. So with every tax certiorari, it, you know, generally the number is extremely low on the paperwork that they submit. So,
all right,
like a limbo, how low can you go?
Yeah.
Not always a practical or appropriate amount, I guess. I don't know if appropriate is the best word. I think practical would be the best starting figure that shows up in a lot of these cases.
anything further? Can we have a motion, please, to accept this Water's Edge tax certiorari resolution, please?
So moved.
Linda, in a second.
Second.
By Maria, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll consider this resolved. And then moving on to the first reading of the Board of Education calendar, we basically kind of filled in the blanks based on what we typically do and the events that drive the school year, with a workshop and regular meeting each month. And we know that we're going to be very flexible with how we reorganize our topics, because I think what we first may want to do is address all the instruction reports that we had to postpone for this year. So with that, knowing that we have the bones, so to say, to work with, can we have a motion to accept the first reading, knowing that we will work this and fill in as we all see the need for what's appropriate?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. In a second.
Second.
Maria, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. That leaves only the consent agenda, and everyone's had a chance to review minutes, personnel action, recommendations for preschool special education meetings, and the cooperative bid for music equipment and supplies. And so, barring any questions, can we have a motion to accept the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
And a second.
I don't know why.
I'll second.
Okay.
Jan, Sue, are you,
I guess I was muted or something. I didn't realize that I was. That's okay.
You can second.
okay. Are you on board with everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can we have a motion, please, or I'm sorry, all in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. That concludes our business for the day. The only thing I have remaining, with this being Teacher Appreciation Week, and I know this is going to be backwards, but here's a sign. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week from all of us as board members. And
Nice.
as we know, teachers open up the world to our students and children. But I think this goes a little further too, because we can include the parents as their child's first teacher. So thank you to all the parents for doing double duty and for all the partnerships and all the hard work that's occurring to keep our students up to date. So we appreciate that wholeheartedly. And with that, can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Oop, and a second.
Linda and Sue, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and healthy.
Thanks, you too.
Take care.
You too.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.